Morning, Ben.
Good morning. How's it going?
Good. So, what do you think of this stat that more strikeouts in the first month of this season than hits? And it's the first time in the history of baseball where there have been more strikeouts in a month than hits.
Well, the Cardinals are certainly doing their part. I'm glad that they've gotten on board. It's kind of I think it's a couple things. One is the trend in the game. You hear players say it time and time again. They were talking about on the Fox Sports Midwest broadcast with mentioning David Freese, who is now, talk about feeling old. He's now the oldest player on the Pirates. We remember young, childhood hero David Freese with his dream coming true in St. Louis. He's now the oldest Pirate, and he was telling the guys, the Fox Sports Midwest crew, about learning how to, learning from these young guys and how to hit. The hits are in the air, the money is in the air. You got to be able to lift the ball. Well, he had a pretty decent career by hitting it, hard line drives, hard ground balls up the middle, but that's not what people want anymore. So that's the money. The game will always go toward what the money is. The money rewards power and home runs. The money, the game is telling you not to bunt against the other way against the shift. It's telling you to hit over it. Now, is that going to hit some point of a correction? At some point, I think it will. But probably to some degree already has. But right now, everyone's trying to lift the ball. Everyone's trying to get, as much launch angle as possible and try to hit more home runs. So that approach leads to more strikeouts. It's not contact, it's power, and you're going to sacrifice some contact for power, and some guys are even going to sacrifice it on two strikes. Some of the best hitters we've seen choke up on two strikes and try to put the ball in play. I'm talking guys like Joey Votto, guys like Anthony Rizzo, but there are just as many guys who are saying, okay, that's one more sweet, big hack I can take, so I'll either strike out or hit a home run, and that's a payoff that a lot of teams seem to be more willing to accept than in the past. Another thing is the weather. I do think it's been so cold, so unusually cold for the first part of the season that absolutely affects hitters more than it does pitchers.
And so you think once the pitching is going to get better?
No, I think the hitting will get better.
Okay.
I think some of those long fly outs that stop at the wall are going to go over it as the weather warms up.
So it's going to get worse, you're saying? There's going to be more home runs.
Correct. Yeah, but the strikeouts are going to. I mean, look, the weather isn't forcing guys to miss the ball.
Right.
They're just going to be more rewarded for their uppercuts. I do think it's going to. This is a fascinating trend because what we hear when we talk about the leaders in baseball, what they want action. They want balls in play. They want motion. And this is not an approach for that. This is a long fly out, home run or strikeout approach. And there's not testing the defense other than can you camp beneath a sky high fly ball unless it leaves the park. So at some point something's going to have to change here if the leaders of baseball what they want, and it always baseball kind of goes to a brink and then it seems to move back. So if enough guys start realizing, hey, they're literally giving me a hit if I can bunt down the third baseline, and it will still count as a hit, and I will force them to readjust, then you think maybe the game changes back. But to some degree, it kind of moves back toward the middle. But until guys are willing to do that, then it's going to stay this way.
I get it, ebbing and flowing. But let's just keep in this current launch angle, strikeout, home run world. And the other thing is these pitchers aren't allowed to go through the third rotation of the lineup, right? So you've got
fewer and fewer, yes.
Right. So you've got more pitches because when Dave Duncan used to pitch to contact, right? You'd throw 3 or 4 pitches, get a ground ball or something. Now you have to throw 7 or 8 pitches to strike the guy out if you're lucky. So you've got more pitchers throwing more baseballs. And then starters going, 5th inning, hopefully maybe 6th. But then you got bullpens. I mean, the Cardinals are running a shuttle, but between here and Memphis.
Yeah, and they also have 8 relievers. Even though they only use like 6 of them, because Mike Matheny likes to keep one, locked beneath the stadium somewhere in case of emergency. You're looking at, relievers becoming more valuable, starters becoming less valuable. Only the most elite pitchers are going to go, the deepest in games, unless you're a rookie for the Pirates, and then you take a perfect game into the 7th inning against the Cardinals. But other than that, you're going to see the best starting pitchers go deep, and all the other kind of non-elite guys are probably not going to see that lineup as often the third time through. Now there are exceptions. If a guy's especially dealing, if his pitch count's low, then managers are going to do that on a case-by-case basis. But for the most part, what baseball has found is that a starting pitcher really tends to struggle. A lot of games are hinge on that guy trying to go the third time through the lineup. For whatever reason, just repetition, a lineup tends to get the advantage, more of an advantage when it sees a guy for the third time. So if you put that guy out and then just start the reliever train, then you're giving them different look, different arm angles, different pitches, different velocities, and you're making it more challenging on the lineup. But yes, it does mean for longer games because you've got more pitchers coming in, more pitchers warming up, and all the counter moves that come off of those pitching changes. So it kind of goes counterintuitive to what the game says it wants, which is speed things up.
And more pitches per game, right? Because you're seeing guys with 2 strikes fouling off the pitch and you're seeing infinitely more pitches in a game than you saw 10 years ago.
I don't know about the pitch number because a lot of guys are striking out, 1, 2, 3. It seems like, but you're certainly seeing fewer balls in play, and I think that's why it certainly feels like you're just watching more pitching, and more pitching and hitting and non-hitting because there's just fewer balls in play. Period. There are fewer hits. There's it's kind of 2 outcomes. You're either going to hit a home run or you're going to strike out. And everyone likes home runs. Like, don't get me wrong, its power is we all flock to it, and there's a reason that those guys make a lot of money because that's something that we like to see. But I do think we wouldn't mind seeing a ground ball or a line drive once in a while. Anyways, it's really just finding out who you are as a hitter.
Yeah.
Some guys this works. Some guys it doesn't work. Matt Carpenter talked all spring about how he doesn't want to be this launch angle guy. He tried it last year. He felt like he sacrificed his kind of true identity as a hitter for it. And why he hasn't been able to make the switch back this year, I don't know, because he's still getting way underneath balls and making harmless pop flies.
Right.
And that's not who he is. He's a guy who should be hitting the ball square on the nose and hitting it to the gaps and occasionally hitting a home run, but not going up there trying to hit a home run. And I think you're seeing some guys who aren't that kind of hitter try to do it, and it's leaving them exposed.
Yeah. And with Albert Pujols coming up to his 3,000th hit, he's one of the few Major League players who has more walks than he has strikeouts, right? I mean, going forward, that's not going to exist because everybody wants to hit a home run or strike out.
Yeah, and Albert is – Albert was power before the launch angle revolution. He was just going to hit the ball hard, and he had a lot of flat, hard line drive home runs. But he's also a very special hitter. I think he's 4 away now after a hit yesterday, and really has kind of restirred the memories here. He certainly will have a lot of the milestones in Los Angeles, but I think St. Louis was where we got the chance to see him as the best player that he was, the best version of himself.
Right.
And I know that a lot of people here are probably tracking it, probably more so than they are in Los Angeles. That's been kind of a fascinating discussion to this, and you would have insight into this better than I have. I mean, you've been here longer than I have. I was here as an intern in 2011 when Pujols was on the team, and then I left and came back a few years ago. But can you imagine what it would be like if Albert Pujols was playing for the Cardinals, counting down toward 3,000? I mean, it would be insane.
Yeah, no,
and
you're absolutely
here
right.
It's like probably like the 6th most followed story, 10th most followed story in Los Angeles. He's not even he's like the 3rd most followed player on his team. He's got Shohei Ohtani, who's the revolutionary pitcher and hitter. And by the way, Mike Trout's pretty good too.
Well, I think you could argue that if Albert stayed here in St. Louis, he wouldn't be close to 3,000 hits because he's been injured these last couple of years, and he wouldn't have had the DH option. So I don't think he would have been close to 3,000 hits.
Yeah, that's fair, and that's why the DH needs to come to the National League.
No. We were
extended Albert
fine.
Pujols. You could have paid him the money. You wouldn't have to play him in the field. You could have Jose Martinez be the DH, and you don't have to watch him, boot balls at first base. It's really. I'm slowly trying to get you on board. I think you're moving my way.
No, because now you're officially a communist, ladies and gentlemen. Ben Frederickson, St. Louis Post-Dispatch columnist and communist. Ben, always good to talk to you. We'll read you online and in the newspaper and at stltoday.com, as well as here with the Sports Guys. Thanks, Ben. Have a